What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking every episode 6 from series 1 to 12. Now remember, these are my own personal opinions, however I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Let's all be civil, let's all be good about it, and yeah, it'll all be great. Anyway, let's get started. Number 12. The Woman Who Lived from series 9. Now although this is better than The Girl Who Died, the episode before it, it's still bad. This is kind of the continuation of a Shielders character now called Me for some stupid reason. There's this weird lion creature, that's the villain of the story apparently. It's just really random and they felt like they just needed a villain, so they thought, what about this crazy weird lion? Yeah, let's get him in there. You've got this weird dynamic thing between a Shielder / Me and that other guy. I can't remember even what he's called, and he also gets the kind of immunity, the what's the word, I can't remember what is the word. He basically can live forever. That's what immortal, that's the word. He's immortal, and it just kind of feels like it's just more of the crap stuff. Like I said, it's better than The Girl Who Died, but to be honest, that doesn't really take much. Number 11. The Lazarus Experiment from Series 3. Yeah, we've got a David Tennant story at the second to bottom spot, which is pretty crazy to be honest. This one I originally had it on at 8th place, but just when I was about to record this I thought, no, I think this actually should go lower, because I don't really like Lazarus Experiment. I think it's an interesting concept, but the CGI is terrible, some of the worst CGI in New Who for sure. Generally, there's just the whole thing of, you know, the guy's still a human, it's still all human DNA. I don't really buy it and I just don't really like it. Generally though, it is mainly just the CGI. Honestly, usually CGI and effects aren't really something that plummet a story down so much for me, but for this one it is the case. And on top of that, the rest of the story is just kind of meh. I like the scene where the Doctor's playing the piano, but that's about it. Everything else, honestly, Mark Gatiss I think is a little bit cringy in the character, and generally, yeah, I just find the story a bit too cringy. It's just not my cup of tea. Number 10. The Almost People from Series 6. This is the second part to the Rebel Flesh Almost People two-parter, the Flesh two-parter from Series 6, and yeah, I think the Almost People's a bit of a downgrade from the Rebel Flesh. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Rebel Flesh anyway, but this one, once again, like the Lazarus Experiment, CGI issues. Jenny especially, really only Jenny, you know, when her head is like detached from her body and God, when she turns into that creature, it literally reminded me of the Lazarus Experiment again towards the end, where she turned into that big horrific creature, and I just thought, what are they doing here? This is awful. Generally the story itself I still do quite like. I like having the two doctors there. You've got the Ganger Doctor and the normal Doctor, and the fact that they kind of switch shoes, and Amy thinks, you know, she doesn't know which one's which, or she thought she knew, but turns out she got them the wrong way around. I think there's some cool stuff there, and it ends on a great cliffhanger with Amy being one of the Flesh. But yeah, altogether though, CGI and some just poor things here and there do drop this one down. Number 9. Praxeus from Series 12. Now, here's our Series 12 episode. Praxeus started out really exciting. I thought the start, how the Doctor and Yaz, Graham, and Ryan, they were all split up. The Doctor was kind of on her own, Ryan was on his own, and Yaz and Graham were together. And I especially liked Yaz and Graham because they hadn't really connected that much throughout any of the, you know, the previous series and any of the episodes before this. So having them together was really cool. The settings were all cool. They were very different for all four characters, all three locations. And it was really quite an interesting start, figuring out what's going on with these people, getting this weird infection looking thing and then exploding. And then we have the whole bird thing, and it's kind of another thing with, you know, saving our planet from plastic. Done a hell of a lot better than Orphan 55, might I say, but still. And then the end where kind of one of the characters, it turns out she's actually bad. Yeah, feels a little bit similar to, Kablam in a lot of ways. And yeah, generally by the end of this one I just thought, that was a bit of a disappointment. Number 8. The Vampires of Venice from Series 5. So, our Series 5 episode, The Vampires of Venice, it's an episode that I've actually come to, when I first saw it, it was just kind of average for me. Now, it's dropped a little bit below average. I don't know, every time I rewatch it, I seem to dislike it a little bit more. I don't know what it is. I think it just feels a bit too bland. you've got these fish creatures which are vampires, but they're not actual proper. It's another one of these things. It's vampires. Oh no, it's actually an alien. It's one of those type of things. I think the performances are a bit meh. I mean, they're okay. I think, especially is it Fernando or whatever he's called, the prince? The guy who's like, oh, you talking about my mummy? That guy. I don't like his performance really, and his character. The mum's okay, and she's pretty ruthless, but meh. The doctor's kind of alright, he's a bit meh. And yeah, generally, I mean, meh is kind of what sums up this story for me. It's just a mid-series filler story that's just meh. Number 7. The Caretaker from Series 8. So, yeah, once again, it's just kind of a meh. There's actually quite a lot of just average stories for this episode 6 slot. I think The Caretaker I actually like more every time I watch it. Yes, story-wise, plot-wise, there's not a whole lot going on. It's pretty much there for the Doctor, Clara, and Danny Pink to all kind of merge together, and Danny finds out what Clara is actually doing. That's really the main point of this story. The villain in this, the Scovox Blitzer, is just kind of there because we needed a villain. It's actually a pretty cool villain though. I wish we would have seen more of it. But yeah, generally, I think the Doctor's great in this. Peter Capaldi's wonderful. He's so good, and I think that's what saves the story. The stuff with Danny and Clara, I don't care about that much. I think the thing where Danny flips over the Scovox Blitz is ridiculous. But yeah, generally, I think I like this one more and more because I know now that it's not supposed to be this big, epic adventure. It's supposed to be getting to know the characters a bit better, and I think it does a decent job at that. Number 6. The Bells of St. John from Series 7. Yeah, it's a good story. Once again, it's just kind of average for me. This is the introduction of the proper Clara, the Clara Oswald that we will get to travel with throughout the rest of Matt Smith and into Peter Capaldi's run. This is the Clara that I'm not a fan of. She's the least favourite of the 3 Claras that we've seen. But, she's fine here, I suppose. She's a little bit kind of smarky and and I'm not really, she's okay. Yeah, I think this story generally is just kind of okay. It's a companion introduction story. Some of the stuff's a bit weird, like the Doctor with his anti-gravity bike. I think the villain is okay. I mean, we've got the Great Intelligence, which is cool, again, from the Snowmen. It's nice carrying that on. But I think they were definitely weaker here than they were previously. And yeah, I mean, I like how, the main woman kind of, when she reverts back to her, before she got taken over, she's like a little child. I think that was a really cool and emotional moment. But apart from that, this story, yeah, it's okay. Number 5. The Doctor's Daughter from Series 4. This is my least favourite episode from Series 4, but it's still pretty good. I still give it a 7 out of 10. It's just kind of an average story for me. I know a lot of people quite hate this story. I don't really know why. It's fairly basic, I like how Martha's here again. We had her from the Sontaran two-parter, and she kind of accidentally comes on board the TARDIS here, but she kind of gets separated, and although I do like her scenes where she's, with the Hath, and those dynamics are really interesting, she wasn't really needed in this story. I don't really know why they decided to bring her along for this, because, she doesn't really do a whole lot apart from being separate, and I mean, I guess she is there to kind of, show us the Hath side, but I don't know if she really had enough involvement. Jenny's pretty cool, and yeah, generally, I love the stuff at the end where Jenny dies and the Doctor points the gun at that guy's head, and he's just like, that's a ruthless Doctor, but the fact that he doesn't do it, that is the Doctor. So yeah, I do quite enjoy this one. Number 4. Demons of the Punjab from Series 11. This is one of the better episodes from Series 11, I will be honest. I really do quite enjoy this one. It's got an interesting feel to it, although I think some of the acting's very poor, actually. To be honest, the two main Indian or Pakistani or whatever they were people, their acting's very poor, and I would have liked to seen some more Indian accents. I don't like how we have this a lot in Doctor Who, to be honest. I know, yes, they're talking English now because of the TARDIS, but the accents thing does put me off a little bit when they don't put on an accent, and that's the case here. They sound way too British, from what I remember. I like the villains. They don't turn out to be villains, and I think in this story it works quite well. But generally, yeah, I mean, this is an interesting story. I think it flows well, the pacing's well, especially for an episode from Series 11. The pacing is there. And yeah, there's some good stuff going on. I just think that some of the acting is a little poor, and generally, although it's a good story, it's not the most in-depth thing ever. Number 3. Extremists, or Extremists, however you want to call it, from Series 10. This is the first part of the Monk trilogy, a trilogy that really went down in quality as the further it went. Extremists being the first part, being the best part in my opinion. I just think this is a really interesting concept. You've got the Doctor, he's still blind from oxygen, and I think that plays into the story really well. They're telling him to read the Veritas, but he can't read it because he can't see, but he doesn't want to say that because that makes him vulnerable, and also Pearl doesn't know that he can't still see. Nardole does, but Pearl, did I say Pearl? Bill. I can't remember what I said. Bill doesn't know that he can't still see. And yeah, I just think that whole Veritas thing's really interesting, and how his glasses, an interesting good use for the Sonic sunglasses, finally. And yeah, I think this is actually a really interesting start. I think the end's a bit meh, how he, uploads it, because he's not actually real, he's on the system, and he uploads it to his real self. Yeah, it's a bit meh, but the rest of it, yeah, I think it's pretty good. Number 2. The Age of Steel from Series 2. This is the second part to the Cyberman 2-parter from Series 2, and yeah, it's good. I think I do actually prefer this part over the first part, mainly for Mickey, because this is kind of this is Mickey's best moments, I reckon. This is where he decides to leave the Doctor and, mainly leave Rose, and stay in the parallel universe, because he's got his grandma here, she's died in the real world, and, he's still got her in this world, but there's no, Ricky died, so he's not here, so he's taking over from that spot. He has nothing to go back to in the real world, so he decides to stay here. I think generally this is just such a good moment for Mickey. I love the moment with him where the Doctor tells him to, do the thing on the phone, but he's kind of doing it, Mickey just has to work out what the Doctor's talking about. And yeah, the Cybermen I think are really good in this one. I like them very much. The first part, yeah, I thought was really good, but this part I think does step it up a little bit more, mainly because of Mickey. I just think he does such a good job in this this episode. He's such a good character, and yeah, really good. Number 1. Dalek from Series 1. So we just had the first appearance of the Cybermen in the new series at number 2. We've got the first appearance of the Daleks in the new series at number 1. Dalek is such a great reintroduction to the Daleks to the new series. Christopher Eccleston is amazing in this episode. He's fantastic. He's so good. The fact that the way he acts, the way he reacts to this Dalek, is just amazing. There's only one of them, but he knows that it could kill everyone. It could destroy everything. Letting one Dalek loose is gonna be the end of the world if they don't stop it. And it's just so good. It really is. The action, the conversations between the Doctor and the Dalek, and then the end where, because Rose touched the Dalek, her DNA kind of went into it, and it's changing the Dalek. The Dalek's becoming a good Dalek. It's not a Dalek anymore, and now that it knows that there's no other Daleks out there, it decides, you know what, I'm not going to live like this. I'm basically getting infected. I'm just going to kill myself. And it's just such an emotional thing. You actually feel emotion for a Dalek, which is crazy. And yeah, altogether, this is just a fantastic story. So there we have it. That's my ranking of every episode 6 from series 1 to 12. How would you guys rank these episodes? Please tell me in the comments down below. It's awesome to see you guys, rank these episodes. It's really awesome to just look through them and see how we differentiate from each other. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Like I said, comment down below your opinions, your ranking for this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.